We are live.
Okay. This does not seem to be working. So I just tried to screen grab. Just letting you all know there are construction outside my apartment, and so internet's working too well. Just pretend I had an awesome intro play just then.
The sounds of sirens are predictably what you expect from New York.
Of sirens, absolutely. And that is what we are dealing with on here. We just deal with a lot of sirens, which is really, really great. Welcome everyone to Tales from the Rekt. This is a show where everyone shares their horror stories about all of the ways that they have lost crypto, and there have been a lot of ways that people have lost crypto. And so we're just going to share some of those ways with you, so you can indulge in the pain and share this pain with all of the people here. I'm going to go through and introduce all of the people we have on the show right now, which is a lot of people. Just checking that this is all going through here. And I'm going to play my awesome intro at the end, and hopefully we'll figure out a way to get that working at the end. But my two co-hosts for today, I have the amazing BTC Sessions and Crypto Bracky. Welcome to my show.
Well, thank you. Good to see you both.
Absolutely. So, guys, you both have horror stories, or you know of some pretty severe horror stories right off the bat. I just want you to start this ball rolling. I might tell you, like, one of the ways that I kind of got scammed early on. Do you guys remember Neo and B? It's like 2013, I think, maybe 2014. And there was this company that had these awesome animations, and they were like, hey, we're going to create this, basically a credit card company where it's just going to make it super easy to bounce off existing infrastructure and pay with crypto any place that you want. And I was like, this looks awesome. Their site looks legit. They're super professional. There's no way a scam artist could look this professional, I guess was what I was thinking. So I invested in this company and lost everything I invested because what was his name? Danny Brewster, I think was his name. He just ran off with all the money. So that's my first story. Do you guys want to go ahead and share one of your horror stories?
Bracky, take it.
Sure. So one of the earliest things when I was just getting in, I wanted to become a miner. I thought mining was like super cool. So I was like looking at the internet. I couldn't afford a rig, so I was like, oh, what's this Hashflare company? This looks cool. And they are a cloud mining service, which is usually just a scam. I've actually gotten some Bitcoin back out of them, but I maybe broke even, barely, you know. But I do have a good story I want to share. If you guys know Crypto Christopher Walken on Twitter, he's like a mining expert, super rad guy, and he shares this story on the Rekt podcast. But he's been mining since like the very early days, and he was also a gamer. So like he took his Bitcoin and he would like buy these like awesome like battle axes for Diablo 2. So I think he spent like a few hundred Bitcoin on battle axes, which is just kind of amazing. And he also unfortunately got hit and right. It caused him to leave the world of crypto for a little while, but then, you know, thankfully he came back to us. So I don't know if it's a Rekt story, but it's a little bit of crypto history, you know.
Absolutely. I say that counts as a Rekt story. It's, I mean, there's so many ways to lose crypto. It's kind of devastating. Like you think about losing money and it's like, oh, I guess you could lose your wallet, your cash, you know, or you could get it taken out of your bank account. And then it's probably insured, so you probably get that back. And it's like this, you know, you compare it to the world of crypto where it's all like individual responsibility. You have to look after your money. You are your own security team. And there are a plethora of ways that you could lose your crypto. So that is what we're doing today. We're talking about our tales from the Rekt. Everyone have a box of tissues because some of these are pretty devastating. Like you got to laugh, otherwise you just don't know what to do. everyone gets into this space knowing that it's all about individual responsibility and doing your research and being careful. My advice to people is always like, don't invest more than you're willing to lose. Sometimes people want to take bigger risks than that. That's totally cool, but just understand what you're getting into and understand it's pretty dangerous. So let's go on to our first caller here. Very excited to have a bunch of people that we've got lined up speaking to you all. So Jason Nelson, you guys probably know him from the interwebs as Dragon Wolf Tech, I think is his Twitter handle off from memory. He has some pretty sweet memes, crypto memes, that he posts there. And just a heads up, Level Up Crypto, you want to go ahead and mute your channel there. I'm loving your reaction videos. You're just popping in every few minutes with like a laughing face, which is great. I love that, but I'm not sure that my bandwidth can handle everyone hopping in the whole time. But welcome, Jason. You want to turn your microphone on there and give us a hello?
Hey, Naomi. Hi, everyone.
It's wonderful having you here. This is the first time I've actually chatted with you kind of face to face. I like to think of it, even though we are separated by the ether. But we've been Twitter friends for a pretty long time, and you have a big story about cloud mining that you're going to share with us. So go ahead. What is your Rekt story?
Well, okay. So we all know that you're not supposed to click on things on the internet, right? Like you see the flashy signs and the, oh, click here for this or click here for that, or you get the email from a certain country of a prince who's going to offer you money in exchange for doing something, right? We all know this.
Yeah, don't touch the wet paint. You're like, is it really wet?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, yeah,
right?
It was wet. It was wet. They were right.
So, well, okay. So I know this. So I've researched cloud mining before. Like I know about Hashflare and the other ones like that. So I'm on this site. I was mining Dogecoin through a micro wallet, right? Now,
wait, you got scammed because you invested in Dogecoin and no one should ever do that?
Yeah.
It's the future of all commerce.
Hey, guys, it gets better.
Currency because it has 4 legs. It's very stable.
Exactly. Much wow, right? I mean, come on. So, all right. So that was all fine. I was able to transfer it to a Jack's wallet, and I had it, right? So one day I'm clicking around, and this it's kind of like when you shop on Amazon, and the ad follows you through every other social media, right? So there was this little meme of the dog. It was mining, and it kept popping up on all these different websites that I would go to, right? So obviously that's a red flag, right? So finally I'm like, you know what? Let me see what it is. Instead of just closing the browser and clearing cookies and moving about my day, I wanted to see what this was. So I click on it, and it opens up to cloud mining, right? Send us your Dogecoin, and then you'll get a certain amount of money back, right? Now, it was linked through the site that I was using at the time. And so I figured, if they put it on their site, it must be legit. Now, mind you, the site I was on wasn't legit to begin with. So I was like, okay, I'm not sending it Bitcoin. I'm not sending it Litecoin. I'm not sending it Ethereum, anything like that. It's just Dogecoin. Who cares, right? So I sent the Dogecoin over, and as soon as I sent it, I knew I had messed up, right? Like, you should have done that. But I'm like, hey, maybe it'll work, right? So I hit submit, and it starts doing the hash rate that that the cloud mining things do, right? So finally, I'm like, okay, I'm satisfied. It works. It wasn't a scam. Hey, I lucked out. So I went to go do something, and my computer went to sleep. And so when I came back, I had closed the browsers for some reason without thinking about that I still had this one open. So I was like, let me see what it's doing, right? Like, hey, I wonder how much money I made, or how much Doge I got back, right?
Or how much
Open it
malware
up.
I just put in my goddamn computer, because you shouldn't click on things that are flashing on the internet, Jason. What were you thinking? Sorry, continue your story.
I'm getting to that. Well, actually, you know what? The one I could say that my it could have been worse because yes, you could have had malware installed on your computer. That's why everyone don't click on things you see on the internet. We're all going to agree with that, correct?
Stay away from
All right.
the bad
So
place.
I went back to the website that was the cloud mining. It was 404, right? So dead website. So I closed it again, and after I caught my breath, opened it back up, and the site was back. Of course, when I logged into my account, it said 0, right? So that means it had no record of me. The Doge that I had sent over was gone, right? So of course, contact customer service. Well, I'm sorry, we don't have a record of this transaction, right? So obviously, I'm pissed off, but who do you get pissed off at, right? Because it was nobody's fault but your own, right? Because like we said before, don't click on things on the internet.
That's a great moral. I mean, Ben and Crypto Brecky, have you ever just randomly clicked on a flashing thing on your computer that says "make free money here"?
I try to stay away from that. Yeah, no, I and it depends on what kind of websites you happen to be on. There's it's more prominent on certain types of websites than others, but
What kinds of websites, Ben?
I don't know. I would have no experience with that whatsoever.
Okay.
I definitely have never had multiple tabs open.
I could name the web because I've been telling people to stay away from micro wallet websites. I don't know if we're allowed to do that here because, you know, I think it's a good thing to tell people, especially new people, to stick to the main site, stick to the known places to get your cryptocurrency.
Listen,
Just
everyone,
random places.
everyone who's on this show, feel free to say what you want. We're not going to censor you here. Just be aware that it's the opinion solely of the person talking and not of anyone else.
Okay, so the website was CoinPot, and I don't know if you guys have heard of CoinPot.
Where you buy
It's a micro wallet.
That's the
Okay. Just Google it. All right, so it's a micro wallet site. It also lets you mine Bitcoin Cash when it works. Yeah, exactly. And now, mind you, this was a long time ago. I have learned my lesson, and that has not been repeated. So, you know, lesson learned.
Okay,
But,
Jason. Well, sorry, what were you gonna say?
Well, I'm just saying is that, you know, for people who are new, who are watching this, just stick to the main sources of getting your cryptocurrency. I mean, Coinbase, an ATM. Don't go through browsers that offer you things that, especially if they sound too good to be true.
Liberty X.
Referral links, always.
Sorry, say that again, Brecky.
Oh, I was saying that's why I always shield my referral links so that people know the right websites to go to. Very important.
Absolutely.
All right, so now that I've embarrassed myself enough, I'm going to mute myself.
All right. See you later, Jason. It's a good moral of the story. Don't click on random things, and also don't presume that because something's on your website and it looks like it's part of that website that it is. That's exactly how scams work. They make it seem like you're on a certain website, either that you're not on that website at all, or they have some malicious popping up that makes it look like it's part of the website.
Given that he was talking about Doge, do you mind if I just inject a quick Doge-related loss here?
Please do. Please do.
Okay. So I won't say the website because a friend of mine runs it. But essentially, what happened is he was accepting various types of cryptocurrency for goods and services. And he was using a particular software to facilitate this, and he was accepting things, you know, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and he initially added Doge as kind of like because he's not a fan of Bitcoin Cash, and so people kept on pushing him to add Bitcoin Cash, and he was like, well, Doge is faster, and so he added Dogecoin. The problem was though that the software that was actually tracking payments, given that he was accepting things that had much larger values, like Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum, it would round to the nearest penny. And so that's fine unless you're using something like Doge, where half a cent is a big deal. And so somebody found out that it was doing this and was able to exploit his shop for thousands of dollars because it was rounding down at the time.
Oh my goodness, that's devastating.
Yeah, so they figured it out. They were able to implement a change where more decimal places were utilized, but not before thousands of dollars were lost, unfortunately.
Oh my goodness. All right, well, let's go to our next caller in. We have Crypto Mike Tyson, who's going to be talking about BTCE and CryptC. If anyone doesn't know the story of BTCE, well, I guess we'll hear the story now. So I welcome Crypto Mike Tyson to the show.
Hello, Naomi.
So tell us your woes. We're here. This is a safe space. We can hear you. And we are here for you as well.
I don't hear any lisp. What's going on?
Oh,
that's true.
oops.
Your voice is a little too low.
I'm also sad that there's no picture, so we can't appreciate your face tattoo.
I tried to just put one on. If you refresh, it should be there now.
Okay.
All right.
That makes you feel better.
All right. Tell us your story, Crypto Mike Tyson. Did it involve boxing?
No boxing. No boxing
or
was
an
involved.
unboxing.
No unboxings, just pretty much street theft in my case. Fortunately, it wasn't that much, although it was so long ago. I honestly don't even remember how much was on there. I remember there was a stash of Litecoin. I wish I knew how much, and it must have been at very low prices because it was at the end of like 2013. So I had two incidents. I had CryptC. You guys remember CryptC?
Yeah.
So CryptC was kind of like the Binance of its time, where you could get like all the shit coins were on there, but with none of the customer support and good stuff about Binance.
Sounds like a winner.
It was all we had at the time, you know.
Yeah, true.
So it was like the biggest marketplace for shitcoins, I'd say, at the time. Peercoin, Mastercoin, WorldCoin, Feathercoin. Feathercoin is probably my main loss on there. I forgot about that. I had probably most of my losses on CryptC was Feathercoin.
You deserve
but aren't they even still
that you got, Mike. You deserve everything you got. Feathercoin, what were you thinking?
Which one?
Oh, anyway, sorry. Keep
Getting
going.
about your point, your losses is I don't know if that's a good move or not. Maybe it's good for your like mental state, but like you should definitely try to remember what you've lost so you don't lose it again.
Yeah, well that's part of the lessons learned for sure. So anyway, I didn't really keep it. This was so long ago, and I don't even know it was on there. Now at this point, I know I'm never getting it back, and the details of the story might be a little bit lost to memory and time. But basically, I had some stuff on there. I guess I actually read an article to kind of catch up on and fill in my memory of what happened. And apparently, they blamed it on a hack. They said they were hacked of, I don't know, tens of thousands of Bitcoin and I think a bunch of Litecoin as well. They didn't tell anybody at the time. They tried to go business as usual. And I think they were trying to just make it back if the hack was even true. I mean, you know, the truth is they can just exit and claim it was a hack. And that still applies today, I think, for a lot of exchanges. Anyway, I don't know. I forgot about it for a couple years. I think the site went down. They went bankrupt or something, and they claimed they were hacked, whatever. A couple years later, I get an email that there's a class action lawsuit against them, and do I want to join it? Which would also be doxing myself. So I'm like, I'm going to pass on this one too. And plus, I didn't think anything would come of it. But apparently, I just checked the news. I was looking at, there's an article on CoinDesk, I think it was, from, let's see, like July or...
Well, don't tell me you got double wrecked. Did you get
Well,
dumped?
there ended up being a settlement for $8 million, but the guy ghosted. He's hiding out in Asia somewhere. They ended up judging against him for $8 million, and I guess the class action people won, but he's nowhere to be found. And I
You
think
got
they're trying to
double
get
wrecked.
custody.
Oh
Yeah.
boy. Oh no.
They're trying to get custody of 11,000 bitcoins that are somehow missing from there. I'm looking at the article here now. So I don't know. That kind of sucked, but I don't even remember what was
your
going on.
boxing career. That's good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's unfortunate when these things happen. You got to keep in mind, keeping money in any sort of an exchange, it's going to be vulnerable. If you are trading like frequently, though, it's hard not to have money inside an exchange. So what do you do other than try and find things that you think have the best reputation? And even then, you know, Mt. Gox had the best reputation for a while, and that didn't end well. I will probably have some people on to talk about their Mt. Gox experiences. Did either of you guys have Crypto Brekkie or Ben? Do either of you have money in Mt. Gox?
No, actually, the first time I ever bought Bitcoin was like a few days before Mt. Gox imploded, and I was telling everybody about Bitcoin and how like cool it was and great it was, and then I did that, and Mt. Gox collapsed, and then I started getting all of these, you know, messages and you know, posts on Facebook saying like, I hope you didn't buy any of this trash. It's all a big scam, because nobody understood the difference between exchanges and the currency. So, you know, that was my foray.
Oh, wow. That's a good time to start. Crypto Brekkie, what about you? Did you have any Mt. Gox experience?
No Mt. Gox, thankfully. I did buy Bitcoin at the top around the top in 2013, right before Gox as well.
Oh, I absolutely did, and convinced all my friends to as well. And then when it like crashed and sat around 200 for a while, everyone was like, Naomi, I hate you. And I'm like, guys, seriously, just stick with it. And no one did, actually. And then later when it got up to 20K or everything, everyone's like, Naomi, I should have listened. I'm so sorry. Like, what should I do now? And I'm like, I ain't giving you any more advice. I'm out of the advice game. But yeah, I'm so sorry to hear of all the things that you had to go through. Mike Tyson, crypto Mike Tyson, I should say. Like, have you learned from your lessons? Do you think you've come at least away with a bit more character because of you?
I absolutely learned from it. I think it's part of the process, especially from times back in those days. And actually, Brekkie, I must have bought, and all you guys, I must have bought like days my first purchase after you guys. I'm approaching my 5-year, I think in 5 days. And I totally bought the top too. I would say, just to leave you guys with some, you know, perhaps lessons to people just getting in, I would say try not to leave the coins on the exchange. I think, you know, you see this BitMEX stuff with, what's his name, Vase yesterday. I think we got to be, you know, a little bit weary of non-U.S. exchanges because the government could shut them down. I think DEX is scaring me right now, too.
Or at least don't talk about it on social media. There's the FBI and like CIA watching.
Yeah. I know. Like, what? I mean, Tone Base, what were you doing? Like, he should be on this Most Rekt podcast today talking about how he just lost money, you know, broadcasting. Hey, guys, I'm illegally using this, and this is the VPN service that I'm going through.
Yeah, can we pour one out for Tone and his half of his income moving forward being wrecked?
He deserves everything he got on that one, I think. Not like, not good, but.
I think we got to be careful about DEXs too. DEXs, you know, everyone kind of feels safe on DEXs now, and you know, a hammer could come down, and the next day you go to log in, and there's that this has been seized by the federal government notice. That's what happened with me on BTCE. Just one day I went to log in, and it was seized by the U.S. government.
You and me both, brother.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. On that note, let's move on to our next victim of crypto and the dangers of this very, very terrible currency system, technology, etc. We have Squirrel Master, Gate Hub.
Can you say that again? Can you say that name of the animal?
Squirrel Master. Squirrel Master.
What's up, Brecky? So, Naomi, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be on the show. There's nothing else that would have doxed me this easily, but I'm curious to know now at the end of the day who got the most wrecked. So I'm going to tell you how much I lost, where I lost it, how I lost it. Let's say hi to Penny first. Hey.
Hello, Penny.
She was sleeping. So, I got hacked the more common way. Somebody gained access to my account, cleaned out my wallet, and I lost 70,000 XRP. Those of you that are like me are going to run and do the math and determine how much you could have traded that for Bitcoin at the XRP to Bitcoin max, which is roughly 15.5 Bitcoin. So it was a pretty big hack. And I've been in crypto for a while. I was lucky enough to have a friend in 2013 tell me about Bitcoin at $13, I think. Shout out to Toby. Toby is the man for that one. But so if you were around if anybody dabbled in XRP back in 2013 through, I don't know, or late 2015, you had to buy it on a site called Ripple Trade. And I had it on Ripple Trade. I was a full-time traveler at the time that they migrated. So Ripple Trade closed down, and they forced you to migrate to GateHub, which is a third-party wallet. And I'm living full-time in my camper van, traveling the country, kind of out of sight, out of mind. And I had two-factor authentication set up on Ripple Trade, but when they migrated, they removed the two-factor authentication, and my account just sat idly on GateHub, and somebody gained access to it, hacked it, withdrew all the funds. 70,000 XRP, poof, in the wind. So,
that hurts so much.
When it happened, XRP was nowhere near the range. I mean, to give you some examples, I was getting into XRP at less than half a penny. So I catch a lot of heat on crypto Twitter for being an XRP fan, but that gives you some instances to why, because I've been around for the long haul, and I'm still back in, of course. So bottom line, it doesn't matter. Don't leave your funds on an exchange. This is back before I even knew really about hardware wallets. Always use two-factor authentication. I do these things. I have all my stuff secured on hardware wallets, use two-factor for everything. But it was kind of out of sight, out of mind. When you're living in a camper van, traveling the country full time, the last thing I was doing was focusing in on these little details. So I should have been in front of it. Anytime you have money anywhere, even if at the time it's only worth hundreds of dollars, you should keep your eye on it, protect it. So it's all my fault in the end, but it's never coming back, my friends.
Oh my God. And you've also got to be really careful when you're talking about two factors. So there was a while even Coinbase gave you an option of either tying your two factor to your phone number or tying it to an app. And then they changed the decision of, I think maybe 2015 or 2016, and said it has to be tied to an app because there's just so much SIM card porting. Penny, I know it's terrible. Right?
Get up, you little punk. So Google Authenticator I had on Ripple Trade. This is the part that's painful. Here's the really interesting part. Anyone who's on Twitter probably knows them. XRP Trump, Tiffany Hayden. I compared notes with Tiffany Hayden. We were hacked by the very same hacker in the very same instant. So it was a targeted attack for migrators from Ripple Trade to GateHub. And I have a guy who lost millions. I mean, we've compared notes. I've filed with the SEC, with the IC3. GateHub was less than helpful. They just, I'm not going to sit here and point fingers because it was my fault, but GateHub was no fun in the process.
I have a quick tip for you and question. I did something the other day. It's called locking your SIM card. Do you all do this? Do you know about this?
Blocking?
Lock your SIM card. So basically, like if you have 2FA on your phone, that's okay. But you need to lock your SIM card so that they can't port over to another phone. So like you go in your settings and you hit lock, and basically for anyone to port it, they would need another pin. It's like another layer of security.
And also, I recommend that it's a nice view of the ceiling there. I think Penny's having a good time over there. Also, I always recommend to people, if you have to have your number attached somehow, then first of all, don't have a number that you've ever given out to anyone. And second of all, ideally, don't have a number that's attached to your name in any way. If you can get, someone else that you know, a friend that's maybe not directly connected with you, see if they will get out a phone in your name and link an account to that, just because it does get really scary, and phone companies don't do a good job. Like, you remember what happened with Michael Turpin? He's suing them for hundreds of millions of dollars because they ported his SIM card, and he was like, guys, you need to double down on security. Like, I can't have my SIM card ported. Next time I want you to go through all these layers before that happens again. And then it happened again. He's like, guys, you didn't do the thing.
You had one job.
You had one job, exactly. So it's so important to keep in mind, like, SIM cards are so insecure, and phone companies are crap. They're terrible, guys. We already know this.
Seriously, they're part of the problem.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's a second lesson to be learned here as well. You mentioned it was only hundreds of dollars at the time. A lot of people tend to delete wallets with dust amounts in them, with small amounts of crypto. You need to be careful and I mean, even just set aside the backup phrase or something for any wallet, because even if you leave what's the equivalent of maybe a couple dollars there now, in years from now, that could be quite a bit, and you'll be very upset if you don't have access to it. So treasure those Satoshis and treat them as the digital gold they are.
Absolutely. That's a great point.
$100 to a couple $100,000. Yeah. So I get your point.
Oh my gosh. Well, I really appreciate you coming out and doxing yourself here.
All good. It's not that hard. You click the link in my bio, it takes you to my YouTube, and next thing you know, you're watching videos of me traveling the country with Penny in nature. So
make sure that we check those out. Send me the link and I'll post it in the description of the video so we can all have a look, because I could definitely use some more Penny in my life. But thank you so much for chatting.
Thanks for having me.
Let's go on to our next victim here. We have Douglas 3D, and this was a tech failure. We all have a lot of tech failures. Tech is by no means this wonderful, robust thing that works all the time, and I'm sure it's caused us all a lot of heartache and headaches. So welcome, Douglas, and tell us your story.
Hello, everybody. So yeah, it was like 2012, and I was working on my computer, just trying to get security updates. And when I went to go restart it, it turned off and never turned back on. Actually, it never turned back on, even to this day. It won't turn back on. So when I took it to the repair shop to find out, okay, I need to get my Bitcoins, I need to get everything off the hard drive. There was basically nothing on the hard drive. It had a complete and total system failure. Now, keep in mind that the VIO that I was on was like 4 or 5 years old. Half of the control box or the power box was being held on by duct tape. So it was bound to happen, but I learned very quickly now that I don't just keep my private keys in one spot. I have a copy, so I have 2 private keys of all of my keys, so I don't have that happen again.
That's, I mean, have either of you guys had actual hardware failures? I know I always have, like, I had some issues with a Ledger wallet. Didn't lose anything, but you know how it can only store a certain number of coins at a time, and then you had to do a reboot, and then you had to delete all your accounts to do the reboot and put it all back. Like, you always have that panic moment where it's like, oh gosh, everything's on this tech, and if the tech fails, like, do I delete everything? You know, how does that work? Luckily, you know, obviously you just reboot it with a key and you're fine. But like, tech failures are terrifying.
Yeah, redundancy is important when it comes to the keys to your money, right? So, but I mean, redundancy too much can also be an attack vector, right? If you've got your seed written down in multiple locations, each subsequent location is another possible attack vector. If somebody gets a hold of that, then they can sweep your keys. So it's like finding this perfect balance of how do I store these things properly and take care of my keys, and it can be difficult. But yes, at least a backup of some sort somewhere that's in a separate location from your tech, your device that you use regularly is key.
Absolutely.
this weird point in time where people have to like the reason why many of us are in crypto, part of it is taking control of your finances and being responsible for yourself. But like for I think everyone who gets into crypto, we have to learn how to do that. You know, it's not a natural thing for us. So it's a hard lesson, but probably a good one.
Yeah, for sure. And that's
Yeah.
why, I mean, you look at some of the more established places that are kind of going along with government regulation and they seem more robust. Like, it's always a trade-off, right? So on the one hand, you have an institution that you know is a central point that could be shut down at any time. And there's always that risk. And the other side, like, you hold them yourself, you take care of things, you have to make sure you're vigilant and keeping up to date, like any hardware updates that come along, like making sure your security is always tight. Like, it's just a lot to take in. And maybe that's the barrier to entry. Maybe that's why we haven't seen mass adoption, because like people don't really know what the right path is. If they're getting into crypto and putting it into like a central institution, you've got to wonder why they're getting into crypto. So it's like a I don't know. It's tough to know what the right thing is to do, and security is so difficult in this space. And then when you do all the right things and your system just fails, and you just lose it, your computer just doesn't turn on again. You know?
Yeah.
But it's okay.
And
You'll buy Bitcoin anyway.
Yeah. It's also a sign of the times too, where things are evolving, where it is becoming easier. Like I'm not sure what the story is as far as this computer goes, but at the time, you may have only had the option, like the hardware wallets may not have been as accessible, and I mean things are getting better, but those practices are the learning experiences that we all have. We're paying for we're basically paying the price now, and paying with the lessons that we're going to learn in preserving our wealth in the future, I suppose, is what we're doing. So they're tough lessons, they're hard, but it's a lesson that you don't have to learn in the future, hopefully. And as much as it sucks to get wrecked early on, new entrants into the space likely will have to make some of the same mistakes before they learn the same lessons, if they don't listen to people that have been around for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. So sharing stories is so important, and that's why I really appreciate everyone being on here, because there are so many ways that things could go wrong. So just learning about this is so important. Thank you so much, Douglas 3D, for being here and chatting with us. Really, really appreciate it. And it's a great lesson. As you say, Ben, like redundancy is so important. Just make sure you have backups of backups of backups, even if you think like it doesn't, you don't need it, and make sure you store those backups at different locations, and make sure the locations are secure as well. If you have all these backups but you store everything in your apartment, and your apartment's protected by a door, a flimsy door, like I always encourage people never store anything on premises at all. Find other ways to do this, but it's tough, right? So thank you so much, Douglas. Really appreciate you being here, and I hope that you've had more successful computer experiences since then.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So up now, we have Level Up Crypto. You actually have met this gentleman before. Level Up, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
And can you recognize that voice, everyone? Do you recognize him now that he's come on? Yes, that is the voice. The voice. Oh,
The voice.
Player one. So this gentleman has been on my quiz show before, and he has the best voice for YouTubing I've ever heard in my life.
Seriously, it's so deep and comforting.
I know, I could listen to it forever. Like, he's going to tell us stories about his Rekt experiences, and we'll be like,
story time.
very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna call you later tonight if I need help getting to sleep. Just call me up and just like read me a story. And
absolutely. So
don't worry. It's all going to be okay.
So Level Up, you have lost crypto in every way possible: scams, hacks, account seizures, paper wallets, gambling games. You want to pick your favorite stories and share them with us?
Boy, so I don't really want to go toe to toe on the numbers here. But I might have you beat. I remember when they were actually giving away XRP. If you were with us that long ago, it was a test of the network, and I had friends that registered multiple accounts to get those tests, and they issued what was it, 75,000 I think was just given to you if you just signed up. So that was cool.
Joins the XRP army, isn't that true? Right?
That was to give an XRP army. So this was real early on, and this was one of the first experiences I had ever had with crypto. And so, in that vein, it took a while. Years later, because of that ancient account from one of the first experiences I had with crypto, I had a hosted file with the whole password on there because it was a really long password, and I'd never dealt with anything quite like that before. And so, yes,
boy.
I clicked on one of those magical links you shouldn't click on. In this case, it was actually pretty targeted. It was a trading view, and I had just heard of trading view, and so I was trying to check that out, and apparently it was a false trading view.
Oh gosh.
And wound up, pushing my hardware. I could tell that my fan was running a little faster than it should have been.
I can barely hear my speakers.
Oh no! So I rushed to my computer to see what damage had been. Definitely XRP drained, and I had a nice loss there. BTCE, another friendly story.
And then we've got the new one that popped up that you've got all these exit scams happening there at the moment. They were like, oh, we got shut down, but now we've revamped and we're in New Zealand. And then now...
Oh, I wouldn't have trusted that one for a minute, but yeah.
No.
Yeah, that one was painful also. But then you've got MCX Now, another was that New Zealand? It was also, I think, from down there. Probably one of the same operators, but it's making me I'm going back now. But yeah, absolutely. MCX Now, Cryptsy, BTCE. I can name a number of these that went down that may or may not have had some of my coins on there while they went down. So don't leave your coins on a hosted exchange. That's a bad idea.
I lost funds on BCE as well. On the topic, we've passed it 4 times now. I also got screwed on BTCE. And by the way, it's the XRP sign up on Ripple.com, which I never claimed and is not claimable. Yeah. So.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a painful experience seeing that account seized logo on that page, thinking, what does this have to do with American websites or anything to do with America? I don't understand why this is shut off.
Everything has everything to do with America these days, and there is nothing you can do about it. You've ever watched an American TV show? Oh, SEC now has jurisdiction over your diaries.
Yeah, Naomi, do you have a clip of Team America World Police to play?
Let me grab one of those for you. Oh, goodness me. But yeah, no, I had friends like lost money in Silk Road. Dawa is in the chat at the moment who says they lost it as well. Anything that's been seized or frozen by the government, there's lots of those that have occurred. People who were doing arbitrage at Mt. Gox as well when that shut down. So they thought they were being sneaky and cool and making some money between exchanges, but then lost everything that happened to be in Mt. Gox at the time. There's just so many awful stories out there.
I was there during Mt. Gox. I just didn't get into Mt. Gox. I avoided that one, but the during that same period it was mining frenzy. So people were going after whatever Butterfly Labs and let's see, Alpha Miners and a number of these. Hash Fast. I actually, that one was kind of cool because I received half the order. Which most people received nothing. So at least I got one functional chip. I called them every day until they sent that thing.
Oh my goodness me. But you've had like paper wallet has not worked, or you make a backup.
Paper wallet presumably works. We just can't find it. There is a single Bitcoin that is now, you know, it has all the multiples of Bitcoin. It's pretty much the same era as the Casacious coin. So it has everything a Casacious coin would have as far as the splits now. But I had given that to my aunt. She had bought that through me, and I was like, "Here, don't lose this," and then she lost it. So
here, don't
like,
lose this. Well, speaking of like paper wallets, so I forgot to mention this, but I'm actually giving out a crypto tag today. Have you guys seen those devices?
Yeah.
Basically a way to store private key that's not a paper wallet. It won't be destroyed. It won't be, you know, if there's a fire or a flood, it's durable. So crypto tag, they've offered to give out a device to the best story today. So I'm going to let everyone in the chat vote on that. So send me your decisions of who you think had the most harrowing, or like which one you cried the most through. I was on the verge of tears through all of it. Everyone says lost crypto. I'm like, oh yeah, I feel you, definitely. But it definitely seems I mean, you've had so many stories. Like when you wrote to me, and I was like, "So have you lost any crypto?" And you're like, "I've lost all the crypto in every possible way you could lose crypto." So level up. I mean, you're definitely in the running there. But send me who you would pick to receive one of these keepers, guys.
We didn't even get to the stupid gambling game where, you know, a couple times they played me where they're like, okay, yeah, we'll send it, you know, you send it in, and then they send it back with like a little percentage gain. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. So you send a little more, and suddenly 1,000 Litecoin later, it's gone.
Oh wow. Oh no, that's.
I'm crying right now. You can't see, but.
Oh, we can feel it.
That hurts.
Yeah, we can definitely feel that.
Wasn't worth nearly what it is today, but or what it has been worth.
So wait, have we made it through your entire list of your scams, hacks, account seizures, paper wallet, gambling game? Like we've gone through them all. Because I feel like you have all the stories.
This is about the most painful memories I could bring up right now.
Okay, maybe for episode 2.
Going on the show is like, I don't really know if I want to do this.
Relive it all.
I've got another one, Naomi. I've got an example of a friend who's got my 70,000 XRP put to shame. He lost access to a wallet with 80 Bitcoin, gone forever. It's one of the situations where it's just gone. And not even a hacker has it to put it back into the ecosystem.
Oh, wow.
But that's okay, because it increases the price for all of us, you know.
Good for us.
There's a slight silver lining there.
Yeah. Oh, this gentleman, I'll keep him anonymous. He was an early investor in XRP. He sold 4 million XRP for a half a penny. So if you want to talk Rekt, I'm pretty sure that's got all of us beat.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Same guy is the 80 Bitcoin for the record.
Oh gosh. Ben, you said you were about to say something as well?
Yeah. So in relation to the paper wallet thing, this is actually, I think, a lack of foresight on the part of a company who I guess personally I've kind of dealt with, but it's okay. You know, the BitAccess Bitcoin ATM machines, they tend to be around a lot of places. So if you opt to not scan a wallet, like if you say I don't have a Bitcoin wallet already, and you go to those machines, I believe it'll print off a receipt for you that's actually your public and private key, and the Bitcoin are allocated to that. The problem is it's printed on thermal paper, and some people don't understand what they have there, and then they don't realize they don't realize to sweep it, or like, you know, new people to Bitcoin. And so I was working over the counter, you know, this past bull run last year, and there were a lot of people coming in saying like, hey, I used this Bitcoin ATM like years ago, and I've got Bitcoin on here, but I can't, like, the part of the QR code is gone, and you can't quite read the whole private key. So like, what do I do? Like, I have this receipt as well, and I'm like, it's gone. I'm sorry.
God,
there's no. But like, you know, here's where your money resides. We're gonna print it on thermal paper. So like, any sort of heat or just general wear and tear over time, and it's gone.
Have they never gotten a receipt before from a store? Like, do they not know what happens?
Well, yeah, exactly. It's just, it's not the best thing. Like, I feel like crypto ATMs shouldn't even offer that option as far as printing off a paper wallet from the, like, you should have to have actual, it should be on a wallet that you can then control and put elsewhere, right? Like
Right.
a lot of people new to crypto, like I've heard plenty of stories of people doing that, saying, I don't have a Bitcoin wallet yet, so it prints them off one, and they don't know what it is. And there's been a couple of people that have just like thrown it in the trash and walked away, and then come back and
how do you know that the machine isn't keeping a record of your private key? Like,
you absolutely don't.
Yeah.
You don't. It's unless everything they're doing is open source, which probably not. Then you don't. So exactly, like, why would you ever want to trust an entity to issue you a private key? Like, how do you know it's actually randomly generated and that it's not stored anywhere?
Yeah, no, it's always a little scary. I actually interviewed a lady the other day, and I'm gonna be posting her story. I couldn't do an in-person interview for privacy reasons, but she had an issue where she got scammed and she didn't even know what was going on. And when she tried to explain the situation to me, she like also couldn't really explain what had happened. So it took me a while to kind of get to the bottom of what had happened. But basically, she went for this acting audition, and then she got payment up front with the check. She put, cashed the check. They said, okay, well, it's like a Bitcoin ad, so you've got to buy costumes, but you've got to use our app to do it because it's part of the demo. So buy some Bitcoins at this ATM, use this private key. That's your wallet. If you go to this address, you could see that you have access to the funds there. She didn't know the difference between having access to funds and just going to a site that, tracks an address and tells you how much is in there. So she goes and does this. They cancel the check. Meanwhile, she's sent Bitcoin, bought Bitcoin with her own money and sent it to this address she doesn't control. So it's, and this is like, you think about an actor who's like, absolutely spending their whole life begging for roles and auditioning and just waiting for that break. And someone says, oh, we're going to pay you a lot of money. You've got this role. It's for this really exciting new thing. You're going to be the face of the company. You're probably excited, right? So even if it's something you don't understand, you're probably going to go out of your way to be amenable and try to make it work. Like, oh, okay, I don't get this, but yeah, I'll try and do this. And that's how they get you, target an area of society that is not used to dealing with this tech.
Yeah, well, there's the tax scams in Canada as well that utilize the Bitcoin ATMs, and they basically say you owe back taxes, you have to pay us. They typically zero in on somebody who's either like elderly and doesn't understand what they're doing, or maybe they're new to the country and they don't understand how taxes here work. And they say, pay your taxes, go to this ATM, put in cash, otherwise you're going to jail. And they don't know what they're doing until it's too late.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that is all of our guests for today who have shared stories. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in and really appreciate you sharing your woes here. As you can see, we're all kind of in the same boat. We've all lost something. We've all made terrible, terrible decisions in our life. So hopefully by sharing them, some of us can learn from each other's experiences. Jason, never click on anything flashing on your screen that says free money. That's not free money, honey.
I should mention
not free money, honey. I like that.
I should mention one more that actually didn't steal my crypto, but it was like one of the more devastating hacks that I had.
Okay,
and,
go. We want to hear this. Do it.
So early on, there was a website called Listen to Bitcoin or something like this. You might have seen this, or you might remember this if you were way back in the day. It was like the transaction volume on Mt. Gox would control these balloons that would have a tone associated with them, and it would fall. And I believe what happened is someone bought this website from the gentleman that had started it with Bitcoin, and it was an anonymous purchaser, and the website was then infected with some sort of virus. So anybody that went on it would then be susceptible to, getting their browser hijacked. and I think it was limited mostly just to the browser because you didn't have to download anything for it. But what wound up happening is I went to bed and I woke up and my Bitcoin Talk account had nearly been, just completely thrashed. It was like all of a sudden I had negative feedback, and I'm like, "What did I do? What's going on?" And it turned out that they had gone on there and started posting, some shit talk about some people and some random stuff in Russian. And I was like, "Well, I don't speak Russian, so this is crazy." But yeah, it was wild. It was one of the most strange experiences. It was the most violating. I mean, the crypto losses were bad. This one was like my personality, my profile had been hijacked, and it was definitely one of the more close to the heart. You felt real like violated.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. But like the look of just like, I don't know how to respond to these. Like, oh, I feel like you have been hacked in every possible way that someone could be hacked. I think that I'm actually going to give the key keeper to you. If you guys are all in agreement with that, I think that you have so many stories that I think the crypto tag is yours.
I think he deserves the
Been
tag
here
and
long
a
enough.
hug.
He deserves a big hug. Listen, I'm going to ask the crypto tag people when they send you. Yeah, let's all bring it in, guys. Bring it in.
Right,
Come on.
bring it in,
There
guys.
you go,
We're all
buddy.
hugging.
Yeah.
We all need
All
this.
hugging. Yeah. When I ask those guys to get in touch with you, where to send it, I'll also ask them to put a hug in that package so that you can feel some of that warmth, because that's just oh wow, yeah. Terrible. Just before we kind of start to wrap things up, I do want to say a quick thank you to Lambo Llama, who helped me sort of wrangle everyone for this giant epic stream today with all of these guests telling their stories. So huge thank you, Lambo Llama. So much appreciated. It was really, really, really helpful. Yeah, he's everyone knows who this guy is. He's all over Twitter. He's like spreading the crypto world. And
Well, I have no idea who he is.
No, we have no idea. That's all. And also before we go, so this is the thing I tried to play before, but literally my internet is completely dead. I'm on my phone right now, being charged a lot of money. But this is what I wanted to show you guys because it's awesome. This was the intro.
Oh,
God,
this
I
is
love
great.
this show.
Tales from the Rekt.
So there you go. That was our intro today. It didn't quite happen like most of our best laid crypto plans. They don't quite happen, and instead you get everything stolen. So lessons for you all. I hope everyone has benefited from this discussion. Any final words there, Ben, Crypto Brecky, anyone else who is still in our chat here?
Yeah, but I got one quick story. It was something that I did wrong, and I don't want anyone else to do it.
Please share.
I love NFTs, non-fungible tokens. I have a couple of crypto kitties, and I love the those Pepe Dap cards that you see floating around. And
Okay.
I bought a whole bunch of those. Let's not talk too much about that. But basically, when they were dropping the new cards, it was like a feeding frenzy, and everyone was like, there was only a certain number of cards because it's NFTs, and everyone was like hitting the MetaMask as fast as you could to get the cards. And they were cheap when you got them, but apparently somebody much smarter than me bought a card, or probably use a bot to do this. Bought a card very quickly and turned it around and sold it, but they put the price at like 6 Ether or something like that. And yeah, really smart. And even the website hadn't updated, and I didn't know how to look into the smart contract to see what I was about to pay. And so it was all out of profits, so it's okay. But like I spent like 4 or 5 Ether on a a card.
Do not say ether on this show. It is.
Oh, that's. Yeah, so be very, very careful when you use a smart contract, because the smart contract is smarter than you.
Oh boy, that's a really great tip there, Ben. Any final last words from you?
Yeah, I mean, just in general, be diligent. Have backups upon backups. Make sure those are secure, and try not to trust anybody but yourself. You know, if you make a mistake, you learn and improve your practices from there. But if you're trusting other people, you have no control over what practices are being utilized to store your funds. So you know, build yourself up so that you can be your own best defense.
Don't even trust yourself sometimes. I hid my private keys too well for myself the other day, which was a good thing, actually. I found them, so it's fine.
Absolutely. I think that Crypto Mike Tyson was trying to get back in. We got a message. Someone said that if you don't have your keys, then they're not your coins. Great lesson to remember. I'm surprised no one gave a story about BitConnect. Maybe that was too late in the game. We'd already lost way too much money by then and learned our lessons.
We'd all been wrecked by then.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Far too smart. Far too smart. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you to the amazing people who joined the chat today and shared their stories either in written form or came on video and shared their stories. We had Jason, Crypto Mike Tyson, Squirrel Master, Douglas 3D, Level Up Crypto, and BTC Sessions or Bitcoin Benny and Crypto Brecky. Thank you both so much for being here and sharing your stories as well. This has been very helpful and traumatic. I need to go and cleanse somehow, maybe chocolate and watch Gilmore Girls or something like that.
Two-factor up.
Yeah, two-factor up. Let's go and revisit our privacy measures and make sure they're all up to snuff after hearing these stories. Thank you all for being here.
Password managers.
Thanks for having us, Naomi.
See you all. See you all. Just gonna end this, and there's always the awkward moment before it ends. So we just chat until then, and it's still not ending.
Yeah. Dance party.
And it's taking
Decentralized
a really long
dance party.
time. It's
EDP.
It's my connection's so bad. It's just not. It's stopping. It's going to be stopping for a while. So lucky I didn't trash talk everyone just immediately after. Oh God, you know that BTC.
Quick, everybody start giving unsolicited advice.
Absolutely, this is trading advice. But still, fail to stop broadcast.
Fine.
Live.
How is
Broadcast
it
forever.